So the readings for today is from Reverend Ken Gordon, and he is the spiritual director of the Centers for Spiritual Living. And Ken says, every time we are faced with a global or natural crisis, we have the opportunity to hear the call of love and life. In these times of political divisiveness, closing borders, and social violence, whether between nations or within a country, or when disaster strikes, we are all affected. Let us once again take this as an opportunity to affirm our oneness as a human family. Let us declare our commitment to love and support one another. Let us allow our common humanity to reach across the divides as we find powerful and creative ways to help those in harm's way. Today, Centers for Spiritual Living calls every one of us to see beyond our own lives and the relationship to the whole, and become more aware of the interconnectedness of all life. We are called to reach out, not close down. We are called to love, not separate. We are called to action, not complacency. Like the butterfly effect, we realize that what happens anywhere around the globe affects all of us. And so it is. So with those
And welcome to those of you who may have just arrived in the sanctuary. The theme for the month of September has been and continues to be love. I love and ensure the stewardship of the planet. And my talk title today is Community and Connection. Now, Wikipedia defines connection, or says that the connection is a relationship in which a person, thing, or idea is linked with or associated with something else. Community is often thought of as a group of people that live in close proximity to each other, that live in a particular geographical area. But even more than that, community is a group of individuals connected to each other by one or more attributes. Now, the etymology of the word even supports that definition, because the root and the suffix of the word community is common unity. Common unity. Now, we are all members of many different communities, families, friends, our co-workers, and the people in our neighborhood, this spiritual community, to name just a few examples. And we constantly move in and out of our communities depending upon the situation. Now, for me, I believe that community is about growing and evolving with others, about supporting others, about inspiring others, about raising others up and being supported, inspired, and raised up by them. Now, community isn't a luxury. It is something that is essential to our ability to not only survive, but to actually thrive. And I, for one, absolutely love all of the communities that I am involved within, and I can't even begin to imagine what my life would be like without them. As human beings, we have a need for a sense of belonging, and that sense of belonging is what connects us to many of the relationships and many of the communities that we choose to be a part of or that we develop. Belonging is the innate human desire to be a part of something that is larger than we are. It is a primal, fundamental need, just like our need for food or water or shelter. A sense of belonging is crucial, absolutely crucial to one's well-being. It really improves our health, it improves our happiness, it improves our motivation. And as we look out at our lives through our connections with other people, we begin to really notice that other people have struggles and experience difficulties just like we do. And when we recognize that, we realize that we're not alone in this human experience, and because of that, we feel comfort. There's comfort in knowing that for us. Belonging can be rooted in all different kinds of things, such as a place or a person or a relationship or a vocation or an art or a culture or a spiritual center. It can be rooted in a family or a community or a state or a nation. In its most simple form, belonging can be like belonging to a gym, which means that we get to use their facilities. Or it could be like belonging to a particular healthcare group, which means that we get to use their doctors, their physicians, and be admitted into their hospitals. But I believe there's so much more to this idea of belonging, a deeper experience or a deeper connection. It's not just about getting something, but it's about feeling something, about experiencing something. Now, when I feel a sense of belonging, I feel seen and heard and accepted. I know that people know who I am and that they care about me and that they love me. And yet I also know that this is not always the experience of every other person on the planet. There are some of us that belong to a family, and yet we don't feel very connected to them. There are some of us that belong to different groups or different teams at work, and we don't necessarily always feel appreciated or accepted by the other members of that team. Now, on the human plane, we often have many different ideas or beliefs or judgments that can interfere with our ability to have this sense of belonging, that they can create resistance to our ability to feel like we are part of something that is larger than ourselves. So in order to really create a sense of belonging, we have to be willing to look at our ideas or our deeply held beliefs or our judgments. In order to really feel accepted by others, we have to learn to accept other people, just as they are. The invitation is to look for all of the ways that we are alike rather than simply looking at all of the differences, and then to be able to honor and to respect and to place value on both the similarities and the differences. The invitation is to say yes to opportunities to be with others and to throw ourselves wholeheartedly into whatever activity is happening in that moment. The invitation is to open our hearts and our minds to new adventures and new people that cross all kinds of borders, all classes, all nationalities, all races, all religions. Open ourselves up to everyone. On the spiritual plane, the truth is that we seem to have forgotten that even when we are utterly alone, that when we are alone, we're still connected to something greater than group membership, politics, or ideology. We are connected by love. Cindy spoke about it, sang about it. We are connected by love, no matter how separated we experience that we are because of our physical bodies or because we have different ideas and different beliefs than other people. We are one. We belong to one another in ways that can never, ever be broken. We are all part of one indivisible whole. The fundamental truth that we live in a world in which we belong to everyone fits our teaching, the teaching of science of mind, to perfection, because we believe in the unity of all life. The unity of all life, that there is only one life, whether we are talking about other human beings or animals or plants or minerals, there is only one life. There is only ever one thing happening. One life, one love, one heart, one human race, one spiritual community. Only one. This oneness is a force in consciousness that really transcends all cultures, all religions, all ideologies, all classes, all national boundaries, and any other divisions that we can make up in our head. It crosses and just really transcends all of them. This oneness unifies all of the manifestations of God into one divinity, one humanity. Ernest Holmes says, I believe in the brotherhood of humanity, the parenthood of God, and a unity being altogether in one perfect whole. I believe spirit is in the wind and the wave and manifests its presence throughout all nature. This is the basis of all new thought teaching, the spiritual union of all life. In a month whose theme is love, I love and ensure the stewardship of the planet, I believe that it's important for each of us to really understand that at the root of all war, all suffering, all conflict, all divisiveness, and all fear is a sense of separation. This is the truth not only of our teaching, but also of many faith traditions throughout all of time. This division is the source of all strife that exists between individuals, between families, between friends, between nations, between religions. There is a story that I heard, may have told it a few years ago, but it is about an orangutan. Now, one day the zookeeper noticed that the orangutan was reading two different books. Stay with me here, please. Just stay with me. Now, he was reading two different books. One was the Bible, and one was Darwin's Origin of Species. I know, the zookeeper was surprised too. So he asked them, why are you reading both of these books? Well, said the orangutan, I wanted to know if I was my brother's keeper or my keeper's brother. Kind of good, huh? Now, fundamentally, both are true. We belong to one another because of our oneness, because of our spiritual DNA. The orangutan is the keeper's brother. Because of this awareness, we have a responsibility to be in conscious connection with all of life through our thoughts, through our words, and through all of our actions. The orangutan is the brother's keeper. We belong to one another, and because that is true, the question that arises within me today is, what does that ask of us? What does that ask of us? Brené Brown says, we're in a spiritual crisis. The key to building a true belonging practice is maintaining our belief in inextricable human connection. That connection, the spirit that flows between us and every other human in the world, is not something that can be broken. However, our belief in the connection is constantly tested and repeatedly severed. So the first thing that we are being asked to do is to remember that God is all that there is. Take that in. To remember that God is all that there is, that oneness is the truth of life itself. We are one with the universe, one with the planet, one with all living creatures, and one with God. When we remember this truth and live from that awareness, then we will experience individual transformation. And when each of us individually transforms, that transformation will lead to global transformation. Being our brother's keeper doesn't mean that we keep their problems or their struggles or their fears. Instead, what we can do is to know the truth for them when they are unable to know it for themselves, when they cannot find their way to it. We can know and reveal the truth whether we are knowing it for one person or for a community or for a nation or for the entire planet. We can begin by knowing the truth, and then we can and should take action. We can begin by knowing the truth, and then we can and should move our feet. Now, the invitation, however, is to take action from our awareness of our deep and abiding connection. But what then is the action? As I think about this question, I recognize that much is already being done. Much is already being done on different levels by each of us, individually and collectively. Actions that we might not recognize are actually participating in the healing of the world, are actually ensuring the stewardship of the planet. Individually, we have taken action, whether we are aware of it or not. Every time we come to service or every time we take a class and we allow something within us to shift, we are taking action. Every time we take that shift powerfully out into the world, we are taking action. Every time we remain open and available for Spirit to flow through and as us, we are taking action. Every time we choose peace over being right, love over fear, abundance over lack, or oneness over separation, we are taking action. Every time we show up as the presence of peace or of love or of compassion or of acceptance or of wholeness, we are taking action. Every time we hold out a hand or give someone a smile or wrap someone up in a hug, we are taking action. Every time we are willing to give of our time, talent, and treasure in service to another or to our community or to the world, we are taking action. It is imperative. I cannot stress it enough. It is imperative for each of us to recognize the importance, the significance of the state of our consciousness. It is the most important thing that you can pay attention to. While I know this to be true, I also know that there are those of us that feel called to do more in a more visible, a more tangible way. Those that hear the world's needs knocking on the door of their consciousness and feel called to do something in form. So the invitation is to listen to that knock. Don't turn away from it. Listen to that knock. Answer that knock and then do whatever is yours to do. Simply get quiet and listen to your own internal wisdom, and you will be informed about what that is. as we answer that knock, the universe will support us in whatever it is that we're doing, as long as we do it from that space of love. The invitation is to be willing to be for something and against nothing, and to take action from that consciousness. To stop merely complaining and be willing to invest our time, talent, and treasure in service to the world. To be willing to reach out to others who think as we do, and who will partner with us as we powerfully bring healing out into the world. This community, the ministers, the practitioners, the leadership, and all of the members and all of our guests are that community. We are a group of like-minded people ready and willing to stand up and to take conscious action. We are that community. We truly belong to one another, not just our families or our tribes or this particular community, but the entire world and everything in it. Like the orangutan, we are both our brother's keeper and our keeper's brother. We belong to one another. Today, more than ever before in history, we live, move, and have our being within one global community. It is our responsibility to do for it whatever we can. In a song called "Where is the Love?", the Black Eyed Peas declare that there is one world. One world. One of the verses says, and you'll have to imagine I'm rapping, "But if you only have love for your own race, then you only leave space to discriminate. And to discriminate only generates hate, and when you hate, you're bound to get irate. Madness is what you demonstrate, and that's exactly how anger works and operates. Now you gotta have love just to set it straight. Take control of your mind and meditate. Let your soul gravitate to love. People killing, people dying, children hurt. Can you hear them crying? Can you practice what you preach? And would you turn the other cheek? Father, 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 help us. Send us some guidance from above, 'cause people got me questioning, where is the love?" The Black Eyed Peas are asking the question we should all be asking. Where is the love? Now, thanks. For me, the bottom line is that love and God are synonymous. So therefore, if God is everywhere at all times, which I believe that it is, then love is everywhere at all times. Often it is just beyond our perception of the situation, behind the veil of fear, behind the fog of the things that we and others think and say and do that have absolutely nothing to do with divine love. The invitation is to remember that even on the most cloud-filled day, the sun is always just behind the clouds, whether we can see it or not, whether we can feel it or not. Love, like God, is always present everywhere at all times. Let me say that again. Love, like God, is always present everywhere at all times. Something to contemplate. Do we believe it when we see it, or do we see it because we believe it? I believe it's the latter. The invitation is to remember that love is who we are and what we are, and to practice the presence in all that we do. Be in daily communion with the God within us, and to tap into the love that we are and be willing to share that love, to allow it to flow through us in all situations and in all relationships of our lives. The invitation is to be in service to one another in the service of love itself. The invitation is to live within a worldview that says that we were created to be God's ambassadors, to be responsible to each other, to all of God's manifestations, and to the planet itself. Our worldview, our context for living, determines what we do and how we do it. The invitation is to live in the world without being caught up in the drama. Do not take things personally. Be unbotherable. Do not let anything, I mean anything, take you out of your conscious awareness of the deep and abiding connection that you have with love itself. See beyond the veil of fear, beyond the fog to the love behind it, and then choose love time and time again as though your life and the life of your communities, all of your communities, depends upon it. Because in actuality it does. The bottom line is that we don't have to do anything extraordinary. What we do can be as simple as being the presence of God, being the presence of love in all of our relationship, in all areas of our life. If you've taken foundations, you might remember that demonstration that we did with a vase of water. The water was nice and clear, and then we added some drops of food coloring. A drop for fear, a drop for anger, a drop for divisiveness, a drop for not enoughness, a drop for lack. Nothing would happen to that water until we added more pure, clear water, more pure God stuff, more pure love. And as we did, it spilled out and out and out until there was a time when it was clear. Once again, this can happen on this planet. One person at a time, one transformed individual at a time, one person choosing love again and again and again. Margaret Mead said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." We are that small group of thoughtful, committed citizens. We are that connected community, connected to God and to each other and to everything and everyone on the planet through the greatest power there is, love. We can ensure the stewardship of the planet and transform the world into a world that works for everyone. And so it is. And so it is.